you doing, YouTube? It's Will from Will Development, and today I'm doing a review on the $40 Amazon belt. At least when I bought this belt, it was $40. I'll put a link to it in the description below. I'm gonna just dive straight in. It's a no-name brand belt. I believe it had a name, but it wasn't even worth learning. Let's just put it that way. I actually bought it back in February 2016. Currently it is January of 2019, so it's almost been 3 years I've had it. And it actually broke in September of 2016. Actually, it broke right there, right here. One of the pieces of, if you can call that leather, wrapping around the buckle actually broke. It actually broke while I was squatting one time. During the Russian squat routine of September, it broke miscellaneously. I literally just got to the bottom of the squat and I heard it like almost a fabric tearing sound. And it turns out, lo and behold, that's what it was. It was actually that just ripping right off, which sucked. I mean, I got lucky. Let's just put it that way. I'm going to do my best to be fair as I can be to this belt. So moving forward, let's just talk about some of the pros of the belt. It is super affordable. You'd be hard-pressed to find a cheaper belt that's still a 4-inch belt. It's a serviceable belt. It does the job that a belt should do. I mean, it gives you some resistance to press against while you're doing a Valsalva. I mean, that's ultimately what a belt is supposed to do, and that in turn offers some extra protection for your spine. And this belt will do that, no problem. It had Amazon shipping. I mean, I got it off Amazon, so I got it in 2 days. I mean, you can't argue with that. I always try to include my experience in these reviews with the company I got it from, and I got it from Amazon, so 2-day shipping. That was awesome. At least if you have Prime. Which also means that you had good returns. If I had actually had a problem with the belt, like missizing or something like that, I'm covered by Amazon, so the returns wouldn't have been a hassle at all, because Amazon is generally really good with returns, and in general, good with customer service. Yeah, I had a terrible experience with Amazon, blah, 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 blah. I can fucking hear you already, okay? Shut up. Most of the time, Amazon's a very good company when it comes to customer service. Because it's a cheaper quality belt and a relatively thin belt, I mean, it's 10 mil, I think. I never actually measured it, to be fair. Going off of a 13 mil that I currently own that I have measured, it's probably 10 mil. It is also very supple, and it broke in very fast. I mean, I remember it breaking in and thinking, wow, do all belts just break in this easily? And the answer is no. No, they do not. Most belts are actually much stiffer than this. It's kind of a pro because you want a belt to conform around your body and feel more comfortable. Let's put it that way. Now on to the cons. It literally broke during a lift. When else would a belt break? I mean, it's true. I mean, when else would a lifting belt break other than when you were wearing it? A buckle's not gonna pop while the belt's sitting in your bag. At least you hope it would. That being said, it did break while I was lifting, and luckily it was during a particular lift where obviously I wasn't in an immense amount of danger, and it didn't break catastrophically to the point where the belt just completely snapped off of me. Just the simple fact that any part of it broke while I was using it is sort of giving me enough fear to be hesitant to recommend the belt. Because if it did break catastrophically during a lift, I could have been seriously hurt. I rely on a belt to protect me to an extent. The buckle design is pretty cheap. It's surprisingly a solid roller, not actually with a seam. I actually had a more expensive 3-inch belt that didn't have a solid roller on it. As you can see, it's pretty thin metal, and it's actually bent on the sides here and over here. You've got sides that have bent. Yeah, see that? You can see how it's bent up just from being pushed against the side of the, I don't know what you call it, I guess roller box. And speaking of that, again, I don't know the technical terms, but that's actually bent. It's not square anymore. It's turned into some sort of weird alternative shape because that side over there is actually shorter than this side is now. Part of that might have been because the buckle broke or because the belt broke and I continued to use it. Another part of it might have been that it had been thrown down in anger a few times. But that being said, the metal's pretty thin anyway on the buckle. I compare it to, hell, even the metal just on my 3-inch belt, and it's thinner than that. Not by a lot, but, by enough. And it's way thinner than the metal on my newest 4-inch 13 mil belt. Speaking of durability, the rivets are a particular style that just sort of seem like what's holding it on is just that little crushed head of the rivet. In reality, it's probably not that big of a deal, but it's something to think about. You know, different rivet designs will hold and perform differently. That's not what failed on my belt, so, you know, I can't exactly knock it, but it is something to think about, you know, maybe finding a belt with a different rivet design. There's no warranty on this belt either. The damn thing broke, and I'm kind of, you know, left to deal with it. I have another belt that was significantly more expensive, and it actually comes with a lifetime warranty for functionality purposes. This belt does not come with any kind of warranty. I mean, I guess for $40, what do you expect? And yeah, you could make the argument that I got about 3 years out of it. You know, almost 3 years out of it. Which, you know, 2 years, $40, yeah, that's, you know, kind of acceptable. You know, it is what it is. And the last con I really wanted to harp on was the fact that it stretches. The material, quote-unquote leather that it's made out of is very, very thin and very weak material. I don't know what kind of leather it is. I don't even know if it's real leather. I don't know what the fuck it's made out of, but it's cheap. And there's certain things that happen, like the stitching started coming undone. I don't necessarily care about stitching, but if stitching is coming undone, that means the thread you used for the stitching is shitty, the leather you used to sew is shitty, the glue you used to hold the thing together is shitty, which it is in fact coming apart here on the tongue, and even here on the sides too, you know, lower down on the belt, it is coming apart there. You've got all this thread in here, you'd think it would hold together better. Now there are some caveats I have to put in here before I completely decimate this belt and give my ultimate scoring to it. I wasn't the only person who used this belt. I used this belt alone for maybe about a year, maybe even less. And then when I moved and started working, you know, training out of a gym full time, gave permission for anybody who wanted to use it to go ahead and use it. I was the one who was the hardest on it. I lifted the most weight while wearing it, and I treated it the worst for sure. Because it was my belt. And I'll treat my stuff how I see fit, and in this particular piece of equipment's case, I felt like it should be able to handle what I did to it. My ultimate score for this belt is 4.5 out of 10. It's one of the few items I've ever bought that I ended up, and will end up probably scoring lower than a 5. You never want to score 5. 5 is mediocre. 5 is, it's forgettable. 6 means you're just on the right side of good, but you're still pretty bad. Under 5 means you're just shit. This is on the high side of shit. It's a shit sandwich, just not a soggy one. Minor problems, like stitching coming out, like the fact that the fucking thing broke while I was using it, are very large detractors from the overall scoring of the belt. So then the question would become, who should even buy this thing? I wouldn't say nobody. I wouldn't say nobody. Wow. Wow. People that aren't sure if they want to continue training. Honestly, I know it's fucked up to say that sometimes, and people say, oh, you know, you should just assume that everybody's going to continue. It's not true. Some people try it and they just don't like it. I would hate to see somebody spend $200, even $140, even $70 on a belt when they're going to end up not using it later on, and they'll end up selling it for half the price of what they paid for it anyway. I would much rather see somebody just buy a $40 belt that is serviceable from Amazon or some other supplier that has no name, you know, just like these, as long as it's a 4-inch powerlifting belt. Don't bother with those bodybuilding belt bullshit. And you're not 100% sure if you're going to continue training, this is a good option for you. That could lead into a whole video about when you should start wearing a belt, if you should ever start wearing a belt, pros and cons of wearing belts. I'm assuming you're way past that point, you've already decided, I'm buying a belt. But you need to be honest with yourself and decide if you're actually serious about continuing with lifting. Because if you're not, but you're still hell-bent on using a belt or giving a belt a shot, I say this is a good one to give a shot on, because worst case, you can spend the next 2 years saving up money to get a good belt for when this one finally breaks, you can just go out and buy your nice belt. The other demographic this is good for is if people aren't sure if they want to use a belt. It is going to act as a belt. I hit 405 for 2 sets of 2 in this belt while it was broken. So I mean, I can't knock it too bad for that. I hit a lot of PRs in this belt, honestly. If you're not 100% sure if you want a belt, the general rule is buy it nice or buy it twice. But if you don't know if you're ever going to buy it the second time, there's no point in wasting $200 or $130 or $180 or even $80 on a belt. If you don't know if you're going to continue using it, you may have to end up selling it off at some point. That's kind of silly to me. I don't see a problem. with spending a measly $40 just to see what a belt feels like. And hey, if you absolutely love it, you'll probably know within the first week whether or not you love it. And I'm pretty sure Amazon's return policy is something like 30 days anyway. So if you use it for 30 days and you hate it, you can just send the damn thing back and then buy a good belt for $70 plus. You can buy a better belt for $70 plus. And if you still hate it, you can always just return it. I sort of have this mentality like you need to earn nice things when it comes to weightlifting. Like, you shouldn't start out day one with an SPD belt, SPD knee sleeves, SPD elbow sleeves, wrist wraps, all this stuff. It's like, no. Unless you have some absolute ailment that would require you to need to use these things, it would be ridiculous for a novice or a beginner to start out with ridiculously expensive equipment. You don't even know what you need yet. The bottom line is, if you don't know what the fuck you need, a $40, 10mm, 4-inch belt is not the worst thing you could do with your money. All that being said, I appreciate everybody for checking it out. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that shilling BS that every other YouTuber does. If you have any questions, though, definitely leave them down below. Social medias are down in the description below. Be sure to subscribe, though, because you're going to check out the next review I do on every strongman's favorite shoe now, the No Bulls. There you go. Then what's yours?